the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town. Oh, the butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where do they go? To meet the Mets! Oh, they're hollering and cheering and they're jumping in their seats. Where do they go? To meet the Mets! All the fans are true to the orange and blue, so hurry up and come on down, 'cause we got ourselves a ball club, the Mets of New York town. Give 'em a yell! Give 'em a hand! And let 'em know you're rooting in the stand. Come on and meet the Mets. Meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town, of New York town.
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another Mets Talk Live right here on the channel. Hopefully everybody is enjoying their Sunday mornings after another beatdown of the San Diego Padres, 7-1, to take 2 out of 3, and hopefully today taking 3 out of 4 in San Diego as the Mets head to Arizona after today's game. Make sure you hit on that like button, everybody. If you're a new subscriber of the channel or a new watcher of the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that like button so we can get more views, more people, and more interactions for you Met fans. Well, guys, guess what? Francisco Lindor is having an MVP type of season. God forbid Met fans finally start realizing that, but they finally are. After all the hate, after all the drama, after all the Met fans saying he's not worth the money, he is officially an MVP candidate, going to get a ton of votes. He's probably not going to win. Well, definitely not going to win it because of Shohei Ohtani. But if there was no Ohtani, he would win the MVP. He would be probably unanimous, at least significantly in the lead as an MVP candidate. That's how good Francisco Lindor has been. And good for him, because all the crap Met fans have been giving him over the years, he's still, if not the best shortstop in Major League Baseball, he's one of the best shortstops in Major League Baseball, has done things that no other shortstop has done. He is a guy that has become the full-blown leader of this New York Mets organization, surpassing Mr. God himself, Pete Alonso, who's done basically nothing to advance this team anywhere, because when Lindor is going and doing well, the Mets team do. Unlike when Pete Alonso's going well, he doesn't benefit the entire team. Francisco Lindor, with the 2 home runs, the grand slam to give the Mets an extended lead, has just been playing outstanding defense, has been Mr. Consistent basically all year since the middle of May. He's been their best player. He's been their biggest leader, and he's a guy that is worth that money. Can you say everybody's worth that money? Because a lot of people didn't appreciate Carlos Beltran when he was a New York Met until after his career as a New York Met was over. I think this is very similar to Francisco Lindor, right? Pretty sure 6 years from now, nearing the end of the contract, yeah, we're going to be talking about, damn, that doesn't look like a good contract in year 7 or 8, maybe even 9 of the contract. But what he's doing right now, nobody predicted, including myself. And I'm a huge Francisco Lindor supporter, and I've been for a while, as he was still getting the hate that he never deserved, except probably for the first half of his first season as a New York Met and his first month of the season. He's carried his team along with a couple of others, and he's consistently been good. When he was out of his major hot streak, he still remained consistently good, getting this couple of hits a game, getting on base, getting the RBIs, even in the leadoff spot. And he's been a completely different player when he was moved to the leadoff spot. And that is a shout out and kudos and credit goes to Carlos Mendoza, because he's a totally different player, right? He does everything. He steals bases, he walks, he gets on base, averages up, power numbers are up, RBIs are where they're supposed to be. The guy has consistently put up the numbers that he's supposed to be putting up. And he does it in moments that matter, as I talked about way too much. The other guy who's done it a lot this year was Mark Vientos. The major problem with a lot of people that has to be negative towards Francisco Lindor is only because of the contract. Yet he's been the most productive, he's been the most consistent, and he shows up in the big moments. And this is why we need the Mets to get to the playoffs, because Francisco Lindor's playoff numbers are damn good with Cleveland. And I expect nothing less from him in big spots. And that's where I want to get to, where the Mets are right now. They're still 2.5 games out of a wild card spot. The Braves keep on winning, and it was annoying how they won yesterday. But they're 2.5 games behind the Atlanta Braves right now. They're gaining games on San Diego at the moment, right? They're about 4 games, give or take, 4.5, basically, with 4 in a loss column. The Mets have, I believe, a couple of games in hand, as the Padres played a couple more games in the Mets. But yeah, I actually really, really like that this team, again, they play well against better teams. Like, the stats show it, the record shows it, right? I would love for them, and I think we all would, they would actually show up against bad teams, because if they would play a little bit better against bad teams, they would be in a wild card spot right now. It's not because they've been losing to good teams, right? They've been losing to the bad teams. They haven't been sweeping series against bad teams. They've been losing 2 out of 3, something that they can't do. But they play well against better teams. And look, this series has been blowout central, right? Who's ever won has blown out the other team, right? There's a pretty good chance. Look, today's a huge start from Jose Quintana, right? We need that curveball that he had a couple of weeks ago that was just untouchable. He needs to pitch well, right? Do I expect him to throw 6 innings of 2-run ball? No. But keep it 3 or less. 3 runs or less. I feel like this Mets offense is going to score runs. They already scored 15 runs in the 3 games. Again, they got shut out in game 2, but they have the potential here. And this offense is going to make or break this rest of the season. What is it? 32 games left, if I'm not mistaken. Like, this team needs the offense to carry them. And let me just double check here. Yep, 32 games left. Hold on 1 second. Vientos. Can we move Pete to 7th? I like to move Pete out of the lineup because he's a waste. Yes, Ken, you know what? People has known me for saying what's up, Met fans. And I met people that when they meet me, they say, hey, what up, Rob? And they used it as a reference to what I do. So again, you want to change it up, Ken? Build your own channel. I'll support you. Why not? It's not lazy. It's what people know, right? You change the intro up. People are going to be like, why are you changing? right? 3 years of a channel, I think I've been kind of successful. So it is what it is. And Ken, you're one of the reasons for that. So I appreciate it. But Ken, in his comment, the few things that I agree with him with, Vientos has cut down on his strikeouts. Right? That was his huge problem last year. And what else does it do? It also helps him average-wise. He's putting the bat on the ball more. And he's been hitting it at a harder rate than he was last year as well, which finds a couple of more holes. He's become a better hitter, right? It wasn't about him hitting that. I don't think anybody thought he can be this good, but we thought he could hit at the big league level. The problem is he, quote unquote, didn't have a position. We didn't say that. The Mets said that, right? By their actions, by leaving him in the minor leagues, switching him to first base, third base, DH. They didn't trust him at third base, which I understood because he had a lot of errors in the minor leagues at third base. When he came up, when the Mets brought him up and played him at third base, he was not very good at third base. Credit to him. He's worked on it big time. He's become, I'm not going to say a good third baseman, but he's become a very serviceable third baseman. And look, they also said Alonso wasn't a very good first baseman. Now, he still isn't peak, defensive Gold Glover Pete Alonso. He's got a lot better in scooping balls. He catches the ball, right? He gets the balls. He just can't throw to bases. That's part of your job. But Pete Alonso has been better than expected the way the Mets talked about him defensively. The same thing with Mark Vientos. Now, both of those guys work on it a lot. Am I going to say they're Gold Glovers? No. But they don't hurt you more often than they help you defensively. There's a couple of moments where Vientos' first step is still not quick enough. Hopefully that gets there. I still think that hop before the pitcher releases the ball kind of makes him lose a step, but he's gotten better. We'll see if he gets better, but his bat is warranted in the lineup, and there's a lot of times where guys that are not very good defensively are in the lineup because of their bat. And listen, when he hit 20-plus home runs, which he's already he passed already, and who knows how many he's going to hit over the next month of games, 32 games. Who knows? He might even hit 30. And what I love, he's in that 280 range average-wise. And for anybody who doesn't like average, did you like Vientos last year? He was hitting home runs, but his average was terrible. Do you think he was a better player last year or this year offensively? This year. Why? Yeah, the 20 home runs, that's great. But it's not just about the home runs. It's about putting the bat to the ball and driving the baseball and not striking out as much, which analytics tells you strikeout doesn't mean nothing, which is very, very silly of these nerds that think they know baseball. The fact is, Vientos has become a better hitter, as Ken said in the chat. That's the important thing. And this is a guy who's gotten a little bit better defensively, and his bat keeps him in the lineup. And if he's going to be our future third baseman over the next 4 or 5 years, well, he needs to be pretty good defensively. And right now, he's our third baseman of the future, and we'll worry about next year when it comes to third base, which it should be Vientos, but you never know. We'll see what happens. But right now, it is the Lindor show. It absolutely is the Lindor show, right? 2 for 5 RBIs, just an outstanding performance yesterday. Big grand slam. I mean, the guy's in the moment. Like, this guy is, better stats than Pete Alonso. He is consistent in all aspects of baseball. And we forget about the defense because when you talk about MVP, nobody talks about the defense, even though he's an elite defender as well. So he's the full package, right? Remember, he was batting 191 in the early parts of May. And to get it up at, I believe it's at 269 right now, average-wise, is a tremendous jump in a few months. It's amazing how many people, like, he made an error, what was it, a couple of games ago? Oh, look at this guy. He don't deserve 300. Look at him. This guy don't deserve this money. Like, he strikes out and doesn't get it done in one or two big spots. Here you go talking about the contract. And this guy is the one guy that comes through. And he's basically carried this team. And when Nimmo was gone for a month, when JD Martinez was gone for a month, when Pete Alonso hasn't shown up all year, Who's been carrying this team for the majority of the season? Francisco Lindor. Yes, obviously Vientos as well. We got the supporting cast of the Taylors, the Baders, those type of guys. Marte coming back, I think, is a huge help to this offense as well. This team, with 32 games to go, again, I already did the math a couple of games ago. If they go 17-17, they have 84 wins. It's probably going to be more wins that you're going to need. Again, you can't predict the future and what the Braves are going to do, but it's looking like the way it's turning out, probably 86, 87 wins is probably going to be the total that the New York Mets need to get into the playoffs. So, unfortunately for us, we're 2.5 games back. The good news is we're 2.5 games ahead of the team behind us in the Giants. That's the other important thing, right? It's a 2-team race for the third wildcard spot. And by the way, don't count out San Diego falling apart here, right? This team was hot as hot can be going into this Mets series. And the Mets are on the verge of winning 3 out of 4. Hopefully they do that. That would be awesome because you just drop another game and get closer to the Padres as well. And now we're talking about the second and third wild card, not just the third wild card. Because this is a potential situation where the Padres, who've done it before, who will have a 3-4 week stretch of good baseball, and then they lose 5 or 6 in a row, where they lose 7 out of 10. So it's not out of the realm anymore that the Mets could get the third wild card, obviously, and even possibly the second wild card, because I think the San Diego Padres are a team that consistently underperform every year with all their talent, all the money that they spend, all the trades that they make at the deadline. They consistently underperform. So there's pressure on them as well. And not only do they got to face the Dodgers some more, they got to face the Diamondbacks some more as well, which is only going to hurt them overall because they're not better than those teams. And the way Arizona's playing, Arizona's better than them. The Dodgers always have a big rivalry with the Padres, and that can go either way. The Mets got to take care of business. And if the Mets take care of business, you just hope that a couple of teams lose. And hopefully that happens. So we'll see if that's the case. If not, well, it was a season that went to the wire. The team was quote-unquote competitive, as Met fans laughed at in the beginning of the season. And they gave you an entire season of competitive baseball and meaningful baseball, at least with 32 more games to go. And there's a pretty good chance, unless they completely fall apart, that you're going to get the last 2 series of the year meaning something. And how great would that be as the New York Mets face the Braves, the second to last series of the year, and that can mean potential playoff ramifications in that series. So, Mets got a game today, 4 p.m. Quintana on the mound against Perez. Jose Quintana. We got to talk about Jose Quintana, man. Oh, man. He's a guy that I thought would be a little bit better than what he's throwing, right? If he doesn't have his breaking ball, he's in trouble. That's a fact. Because if he can't get that breaking ball over, if he can't sneak that breaking ball to hitters and locate it and doesn't throw strikes with it, he's in trouble because he doesn't have an overpowering fastball. He's got to come over the plate with that fastball. And when he does, he gets hurt. But when he locates those breaking pitches, specifically his curveball, his fastball works better because now they're looking curveball and he throws that fastball behind him and it looks a lot faster when they're expecting a curveball. Jose Quintana right now, especially his last couple of starts, can't get that breaking ball over for a strike. So the hitters are just sitting fastball and putting them in hitters counts where Quintana gets hurt with that fastball. And then look what happens, right? Quintana gets beat up. This is a huge start from Jose Quintana, not only for his own mental health and Mets fans' mental health. It's more about we need him over this next couple of weeks of the season, and we need this victory. Make no mistake about it. The Braves keep on winning. They got an easier schedule than the New York Mets. Mets got to take care of business here. And as much as I think the offense should be carrying this team, we still need at least a quality start from Jose Quintana. Keep the team in the ballgame. 5 innings, 3 runs, nothing to write home about. but it keeps your team in the ball game. You can't have what Blackburn did 2 nights ago, where giving up 3, 4, 5 runs here and kind of putting the game out of reach and making the Mets try to fight back. Quintana's got to keep the game close. Keep it close. Keep it within striking distance, either tied, at least a run or two down, or even in the lead, keep the lead. That's what they got to do. Yeah, Scapara, I have little faith in Quintana right now. And, again, a couple of weeks, a month ago, when we all lost faith in him, he had 3, 4 starts in a row that was extremely good. And then he fell back to bad Quintana again. So with the good starts from Quintana are in there. It's just that he has to locate that breaking ball. He has to locate that curveball. Because if he locates that curveball can be devastating, as we seen a month ago when it was his best pitch, because he works it within his fastball and he can, surprise hitters with that fastball when they're looking for that curveball. Now there's a couple of pitches in the hitter's mind instead of waiting for that fastball, because the curveball, why worry about his breaking pitches when he can't throw them from strikes? He starts throwing it for strikes, and you'll know early on with Jose Quintana when it comes to, does he have that curveball or not? Because he will throw it. And if it's sharp, if it's within the strike zone or right around the plate, there's a pretty good chance he's going to have a good day. But the offense, and again, I like being at home, but I love being on the road because you get the first opportunity to score some runs, set the table, put some pressure on the Padres, right? They're on the verge of losing 3 out of 4 to the New York Mets, a team that's chasing them. They had the first wild card. There's pressure on them now. Remember, this is the darling team of Major League Baseball that nationally everybody loves, but have been underperforming every single year with all the signings, the trades, all the money they spent, all the stars in their lineups. There's pressure on them at home against the Mets. The Mets don't have the pressure right now. It's on the Padres. And the Mets got to step up and get to Perez early. Put some runs on the board. It's amazing, right? How pitchers look when you give them a lead early. Because as I said many, 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 many times, too many times this year, the Mets pitching was either pitching with no lead, 0-0, tie game, or they've been pitching from behind and had to be perfect. When you give them a couple of runs, they don't have to be pinpoint perfect. They just got to maintain that lead. And the pitching staff of the New York Mets have had a lot of times where they were either behind or a tie game where they had to be perfect to not let the game get out of hand or give up the lead or break the tie game. This offense just got to help them out a little bit more. This pitching staff has been solid. Great? No. Solid? Absolutely. Majority of the time, you get quality starts from these guys. They give you a chance to win. The offense, which is supposed to be number 1 on this team and the big honcho on this team, they are supposed to carry this team, not the pitching. We all knew that going into the season. The pitching has outperformed a lot of our expectations. The offense has underperformed for the most part overall. And we know who the problems are. It was Alvarez. It is Alonso. Nimmo here and there is getting better. JD Martinez are a hit and miss right now. Lindor has been red hot. So, again, we just continuing to talk about the offense needing to carry this team because the pitching has been doing their job. Too many times, if you look at the box scores of a lot of Mets games, it's either scoring early or scoring late and then nothing in between. From like inning 4 to like 7, there's no runs. They've had a problem in the middle of the game scoring runs. It's been early or late. Sometimes when they score early, it's been good enough to carry the team to a victory. But a lot of the times when they score late, the game's basically out of reach. Or sometimes they do come back. But they got to get that middle ground, that middle of the game, some extra runs. They got to get some runs in that middle of the game. They've had a hard time doing that. The whole season, even when they were red hot. Is it going to change? I don't know. We're already 132, 31 games into the season. Season's almost over. But That's what they got to work on. But away games is always beneficial to the away team in the beginning of the game. They get the first shot of scoring runs, put the pressure on the Padres. You see what happens with the Padres when there's pressure, and they're a team that doesn't hit well in scoring position. I said this about a week ago. I believe I said it on the roundtable, if I'm not mistaken, as all these shows kind of mixed together. The San Diego Padres are a team since they went on this hot streak for a month. They went on a hot streak where they won a lot of games on comebacks. So what does that tell you? They were trailing in ball games and they come back in games during this hot streak. At some point, those comebacks are going to waver a little bit, are going to slow down a little bit. You can only do that for so long. It takes a ton of energy to come back. Just ask the Mets. They came back from 11 games under 500, and then after the All-Star break, it felt like they ran out of gas for a little while. They had to get re-energized. Same thing with the Padres when it comes to comebacks. Comebacks aren't natural all the time. You can't consistently win like that. It slows down. You start to lose those games. You might come back a little bit, but you don't get to the finish line and win those ball games. That's how the Padres have been winning during that hot streak. It's all fun with all these walk-offs and coming back in games, coming down from 3-4 runs down, but they've been consistently behind. When they stop coming back, you don't look like such a good team anymore. You look like a team that's struggling a little bit. So the Padres are a team that has come back over that hot streak a lot during that stretch. It's going to slow down a little bit. They don't hit with runners in scoring position very well at all. Gary Cohen brought it up, I believe it was game 2. He brought it up that they struggle with runners in scoring position. It's been consistent in this series. They've left a lot of men left on base, and that's been their entire season. And that's been basically their MO. Since they spent all this money and got all these big names and made all these trades, that has been their calling card. Leaving runners on base. They can't score with runners in scoring position. They leave a ton of men on base, and they won a lot of their games during that hot streak in comebacks. That stuff slows down. It's baseball. You don't always come back from games. It's not how you always win games, right? The Padres have been worse than that. They've been very, very bad with runners on base. Well, you know what, Ken? I think when it comes to you're right about that. He was a superstar in the AL, but go back to when he was in the AL. How many teams were bad in the AL East? How many teams were bad in the American League? The NL got a lot more teams, and look, he's in a division now, right? That has good pitching, that has a lot of quality teams in it. You look a lot different as a superstar when you're facing off against a bad Blue Jays team. At the time, a bad Rays team, a bad Orioles team. Every now and then, a bad Red Sox team. The only team that really was good in the division was the Yankees, right? And the American League wasn't very good. The Central was always mostly bad. The West is decent, but not great. So, yeah, he faced a lot of teams. This was before interleague play was played every day, and it was only, a couple of weeks out of the year. When he was with the Orioles, you played a lot of bad American League teams. You look like a star. So, yeah, Machado is a guy who was lackadaisical. He made a lackadaisical play yesterday to keep the Mets rolling in the inning, and it led to a Lindor grand slam. Right? That's a catch that he makes 99% of the time. Right? He got lackadaisical. You've seen, right? He didn't leap. He just, kind of put the glove up there, expecting the ball to just stick in the glove. And then, again, you can't do anything about that ground ball from Pete Alonso that hits the bag. That's not his fault. But, yeah, he's a lackadaisical player. He's a guy that strikes out for a superstar type of player. He strikes out a lot in big spots. He's a guy, he's very similar to Alonso. He swings at that slider away constantly. Yeah, easy. The Rays weren't a very good team. Go back to when the Orioles had Machado. Look at the Rays record. They were a middle-of-the-pack team. They weren't a very good team. They were solid, I would say decent, but nothing to write home about. Look at the American League during that time. Wasn't a lot of good teams. Wasn't. And there's a lot more quality pitching in the National League. and he's in a division with the Dodgers, with the Giants, with the Diamondbacks. You know, pretty good teams that have good pitching. Yeah, for what? 1 year in 2018, 2020, which is irrelevant. The Rays were a solid team, but nobody were they really contenders, or were they just an okay team? They were an okay team. It was always the Red Sox. It was always the Yankees. Ken, I think Pete Alonso has done that before, buddy. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I just think he's just not a smart hitter. Like, there's power hitters, like Judge, for example. Judge is a smart hitter, right? Just look at his average. That's why when people talk about average being irrelevant, I want to slap people in the face. Because it's a stupid conversation when you talk about average not being a good stat. Like everybody talks about OPS. Well, Alonso technically has a good OPS, but it's not a good season. His average is in the 245? His home runs are drastically down. Lindor has the same amount of home runs and less RBIs than Lindor. So I think Pete Alonso is not a smart hitter. He is not a guy that's a 270, 280 hitter. He's just not. I think that, especially, look, his clutch numbers, runners on base, runners in scoring position, are absolutely garbage. They've been like that his entire career. Right? And I don't want people give me season stats. Oh, look at his clutch numbers. Yeah. Well, how much of that was when the Mets were irrelevant and out of a playoff situation, which was last year after July 31st or in August and September? Look at Alonso's stats in August, September when basically the season was over. Great. Clutch numbers were wonderful. Go back to 2022. You know who had the best clutch numbers? Brandon Nimmo, Lindor, Marte, not Alonso. Right? When it got tough, and now they counted on Alonso a little bit more when Marte got hurt, guess what he did? Nothing. He was okay. Not a guy that's trying to get $200 million or a guy that's technically, supposedly thinks in his own head he's a superstar. So, well, yeah, he was a decent 250, 260 hitter. But he consistently, over the years, got worse. He's a guy that thrives off of his power. When he's hitting the ball over the wall, he starts to become a better hitter. He starts to be selective. Now it just seems like he's always guessing. And then when he hits that home run, it's never with people on base. He's not a selective hitter. He's a guy who's a guess hitter. And that's a bad way to go about it when you're a guy that is just living off power. And when you hit home runs, you got to hit them with people on base. When you don't do that, you end up having less RBIs than Francisco Lindor. And I think Nimmo is still ahead of him, even with Nimmo being lost for a month. Yeah, well, Ken, that's the other thing too. That's an issue with the Mets, right? Sac flies, runner on third, less than 2 outs. It's been a huge problem. That's why when people talk about average, now obviously average doesn't factor into sac flies, right? You lose some points on average, but putting the bat on the ball, lowering your strikeouts, right? Analytics is big on who cares about average, and strikeouts don't mean nothing. That's what analytics tells you all the time. But putting the bat on the ball makes the defense have opportunities to make mistakes, right? What happened yesterday? Machado not catching that ball. What if the batter would have struck out in that spot? Would have been an opportunity for Machado to hit that to miss that ball. There you go. Putting the bat on the ball gives 2 opportunities to the offense. One, having the defense make a mistake, and maybe you pop the ball up into the outfield, get that runner home from third. it's situational hitting. It's a quality at bat. So that's why analytics is good for certain parts. Like I think defense has made a lot of players better fielders based on positioning because they move players where hitters hit the ball. So outfielders specifically don't have to run too much and don't have to, show their bad part of their defense. Like I always said, Nimmo is not great going back on balls. He was excellent coming in on balls. So what did the Mets do analytically? They made him play a deeper center field. Now more balls fell in front of him, but it made him a better outfielder because now he doesn't have to run back on balls as much. He can go left to right, side to side, a little easier. So it made Nimmo a better defensive player. Just like it did to a lot of outfielders. Made them better. So analytics has a part in the game, but when it gets to the point where they say average is a useless stat and strikeouts don't matter, is the silliest thing ever. Because everybody who watches baseball always complains about it. Just be on social media during a game when a guy strikes out with a guy on second base or a guy on third base, less than 2 outs. How many times they strike out? Because they're trying to hit the ball over the wall. When all they got to do, at the very least, is hit a sac fly, get the ball to the outfield. Hit the ball hard somewhere. Let the defense make the play. Too many times they don't, and then you see the fans bitching about it, but they're the same fans that preach analytics and give you these annoying stats like they don't matter, like they matter so much. When baseball is a very simple game when it comes to stats. All these other stats, like OPS is a flawed stat. I don't care what anybody says. Pete Alonso, when you have an over 800 OPS, people are like, oh, that's good. Yeah, but what about the other parts of the game? Like average, strikeouts. OPS shows mostly about power, about extra base hits. But if you don't do that as you're supposed to be the big RBI guy, if you don't do that with people on base, why does OPS matter? That's why it's a silly stat. All right, let me just see. Yeah, JD Martinez, I was looking at his numbers like throughout the year, his last couple of seasons. He has these at bats or these weeks where he's just a strikeout guy. I mean, take pitches down the middle, strike out a lot. Like obviously he had better numbers last year, a couple of years ago, right? He's a guy, and you're right, he doesn't hit the ball down the middle. He can't hit the ball down the middle. The ball's on the outside corner, inside, up, low. He'll get to those pitches outside. It's an amazing type of hitter to me. Like I never seen a hitter like that would consistently miss fastballs right down the middle. But if you throw a pitch up, in, outside, low, he'll get to that ball and drive it. Like he's the only guy I know that does that. It's amazing. He's like Vlad Guerrero when it comes to that. The guy, seemed like he never hit a ball down the middle, but you throw it anywhere else, he hits it. JD Martinez is going to be fine, right? It would be nice if he's a little bit more consistently fine, but he's the guy that one hit turns the whole week around for him or series around for him. So he's the guy that, he'll hit that big home run, but he'll strike out 3 times in a game, but he'll hit that big home run in that same game. Yeah, Kim, but JD Martinez never had an aggressive swing. That's the way he's always batted. So, he always swung the bat. So, you're not changing a guy that's 37 years old. Like you're just not. He's built a career on that swing. So you ain't changing him now. It's just this is the type of hitter he is. He's a guy, he'll go 1 for 4, but in that one hit that he gets, he'll either drive in runs or he hits the ball over the wall. Like JD Martinez missed a month, yet he's had big hits more often than Pete Alonso, who's played a whole season. So when it comes to this Mets team with 32 games to go, right? It's looking like 86, 87 wins is going to take that many wins to make a wild card. Again, that's kind of, just going on, the Braves being what they are right now, right? If they have, I believe, let me just double check really quick. I just want to give you the proper number. So the Braves have a couple of games in hand on the Mets. They played 129 as the Mets played 130. So one game in hand. So if they finish the season, right, they got 30 games to go, right? 31 games to go, right? 33 games to go, and the Mets have 32, right? If they, win, say, 17 games, that's 87 wins right there. That's a game over 500, right? So it's going to be tough. But again, if the Mets play 2 or 3 games over 500, they're right at that number as well. You just hope, again, this is why that Brave series, it could come down to that, because that can determine if you're going to get 84 wins or 86, 87 wins. So it's an important game series to look at, even though it's about a month away, right? Not looking past today's game, not looking past the Diamondbacks or the White Sox series before the Mets head back home. But the way it's been going, where nobody, the Braves and the Mets, have been more than 2.5 games behind each other, seeming like for like a month now. If it ends up being around that, and the Mets have to win 2 out of 3 to to make it very interesting and either tie or go ahead of the Braves, I feel like it's going to be 86, 87 wins, and that is the Atlanta Braves playing 500 or a game over 500, and the Mets playing 2 or 3 games over 500, which is very possible. They can do that with no problem. But, if the Mets go on a good hot streak here, win, 5 out of 6, if they end this road trip, really good, right? 4, 7, 10 game road trip. If they go 7-3, that's pretty good, right? We hope they do that, but this game today is so important. I said it a couple of times. Yeah, Joe, I look, we all want them to win 5 or 6 straight, but we're going past the bigger picture here, right? Obviously, winning streaks are extremely important, but winning series is also important, and we lose focus on that, right? If we win today, we win 3 out of 4. If we win 2 out of 3 against the Diamondbacks, that's 2 series wins in a row, and you played 7 games, and you're 5-2. Right, going into a White Sox series that is always dangerous because the Mets play to their competition. I'll be in Chicago for those games, so I'm gonna be a bit nervous because I know how the Mets play against inferior opponents. Yeah, Ken, that's true, but you can also look back getting swept at home against the Dodgers, right? You can bring up the bad teams, but it's also some good teams where we should have won some games too, right? If you win one, even if you lose 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, you pick up a game, right? It's the games where you get swept. It's the games where you lost 3 out of 4, right? It's those split series that if you could have won an extra game, you can look at it a lot of different ways. Like, I know you're going to bring up the bad teams, but it's also getting swept by the Dodgers, getting swept by the Mariners. Right, picking up one game from each of those series. Right now, the Mets would be at 70 wins. They would be right where the Braves are right now. So it's not just losing series against those teams. It's about picking up that one game in the series that you lose 2 out of 3. Those games matter. You can look at it a lot of ways. The bad teams are annoying losing those series, but picking up a game in those 3-game series that you got swept would have you at 70 wins right now as well. And you would be either a half a game or tied for a wild card spot with the Braves. That's how little of a margin it is. But you know what? The Braves, right? I don't know if the Braves still play the Nationals. Let me just check really quick. They do. They play another game against the Nationals at 12 o'clock. So let's go Nationals, right? The Mets can only do so much, right? They're leg to victory, or their leg to a wildcard spot, or their place to a wildcard spot depends on the Braves losing and the Mets winning. The Mets can win the next 31 games. But if the Braves win 2 more or even 1 more than them, they're not making the playoffs. So, but we got competitive baseball. We got meaningful baseball. We're almost at the end of August here. Got a couple of days until August is over, and then we hit the month of September. Mets are 68 and 62, 7.5 out of the division, 2.5 out of a wild card spot, 4.5 out of the second wild card, which is very much in hands at this point now. The Mets win today, that's 3.5 games. So the Mets have an opportunity here. They got to keep winning. They got to keep playing well. Keep winning series. Again, you keep winning series, you're ending up on 86, 87 wins just by winning series, because that will get you over the 3 to 4 games over 500 over this next stretch of games to end the season. And that's why I preach winning series. We all focus on sweeping series. Look, we want the sweeps, but be a little bit understanding of the situation. You win series here, they're on the verge of 86, 87 wins, which is probably the prime number to get a wild card spot. And that's including winning the series against the Braves at that point, when it gets to that point. So winning series is the main goal. Sweeping series is the cherry on top. That's the focus you have to have, right? Does anybody expect us to sweep the Diamondbacks? Probably not. But take 2 out of 3. That puts a damper in some wins. Puts a damper probably getting us close to a wild card spot. And if you win that series today and against the Diamondbacks, you go into a Chicago White Sox series where you know you're much better than them, but it's a dangerous series because you don't want to play down to your competition. The Mets are going to have a ton of fans in Chicago. The Seven Lines going there. There's a ton of people, obviously Met fans that live in Chicago. It's going to be probably 90% Met fans, even though there is a Frank Thomas bobblehead on Saturday that's going to draw a lot of White Sox fans there. And Friday's fireworks nights, that always brings fans there. So going to be big crowds based on the Mets are going to be there and the giveaways and the fireworks. But there's going to be a big number of Met fans there. It's going to feel like a home game. Mets got to take care of business. The minimum is 2 out of 3. The necessity or the need of a sweep should happen. But it's guaranteed need 2 out of 3 against the White Sox. But good news is that 1 game at a time. With Jose Quintana, big start today for him. Mets offense needs to score some runs here. They can't, score 8, then score 0. Score 7, score 1. They can't do that. Keep it going. Do the job. Offense needs to carry this team. The pitching, Quintana, give us a quality start. Give me 5 innings, 3 runs. I take that. Then your abominable 3 innings, 4 innings, 5 runs, 6 runs. They're not going to cut it. We'll see. Again, key to Quintana, that curveball he's got to throw for strikes. He throws that curveball for strikes, that fastball gets up on that hitter a little bit quicker because now they're thinking about a curveball that they have to worry about instead of just looking at a fastball. That is the key to a Mets victory today. The offense step up, do their job. Quality stuff from Quintana. Get that curveball over for strikes. Let that hitter think not just about his fastball that he can't overpower hitters with. And that curveball is the key to Jose Quintana. Once again, guys, I want to thank you for watching. I'm most likely going to do a stream during the game. I have it up right now, depending on what I got to do. I'm hoping to be available for the stream for the game. If not, I'm going to do a post-game show. So make sure you tune in to either the in-game live or the post-game show. With that said, guys, it's always a pleasure talking to you guys in the chat. Mets 68 and 62, 2.5 games out of a wild card. And on the verge of taking 3 out of 4 against the San Diego Padres, who are a team that the Mets should beat. I think the Mets are better than them. I know the record doesn't show that, but I feel like the Padres are just an underperforming team, in my opinion. But good news is the Mets have an opportunity to take 3 out of 4. That's the goal. Take series. With that said, guys, everybody have a great day. Enjoy the game. Hopefully I see you during the in-game live. If not, it will be a post-game show after the game. Have a great day, guys. Enjoy your Sunday. Let's go, Mets. Jose Quintana, quality start. I'll see you next time, guys. Enjoy your Sunday.